April 2025. Sure, you are as well grateful to witness another beautiful morning, another beautiful day. 22 days gone already in the month of April. And that being said, welcome to Trends on the Papers on Mail 98.3 FM, where the headlines actually hit harder and the stories definitely go deeper. I'm yours truly, Modukbe Akinyosoye. And for the next weeks to the stories shaking the streets, we've got it all lined up. So buckle up and let's do this beautiful morning as we'll take it upon this morning. So it's time to get informed, to get inspired, and maybe even a little fired up this beautiful morning. So let's dive in. I've got some major newspapers with me this morning for adequate perusing. The Punch, the Vanguard, the Guardian, which you'll be looking through and seeing what is trending in our papers this morning. Catch us live on social media. As you know, radio has gone and evolved beyond just listening. You can definitely join us live. We can also be seen on Facebook and our website, www.mainlandfm.com, and you can listen via Radio Garden. Yes, just search for Mainland 98.3 FM and boom, voila, 3 FM, the sound of Lagos, located in the heartbeat of Lagos, Nigeria. I'll be joined by Fuad as always. We'll be giving perspective and analysis. Good to have you. Hope you had a restful night.
Well, it was a restful night, but again, I had to wake up early to keep up with information as it does. So.
As always.
But fine. Yeah.
Yeah, used to it already, so it's not like a burden or anything. You're already used to it, so it's just like just a normal, normal thing. Anyway, I wish to be like you, Sha.
You better not. Don't bother.
I should not bother. Anyways, but for we'll be starting with a very sad note this morning. The incident that occurred on Saturday at around 9:40 thereabouts p.m. In Ojudu-Beja. And we're getting report this morning quite across all platforms that the dead tolls from the rubble of a 3-story building that collapsed at Ojudu-Beja area of Lagos has now risen to the NAN. And he said the total number of the people that had been rescued so far is 13. And of course, rescue effort is still on. Fortunately, I could have been like a high witness, either a high witness or victim of that incident, because I wanted to pass through that route, but that same street, but I was caught up. I think there was hold up. Yes, there was a quite same night, and then very early in the morning I heard about the collapse, and it's that road, either being an eyewitness or a victim. And then with the reason behind the collapse being, just nonchalant attitude about the building credibility and all of that. And that's cases we hear stories of collapse here and there, story buildings. I was even having a conversation with someone, I think this weekend, yes, when we're talking about the building, where the constructs them and the credibility of the construction. Fuad, how do we tackle this? How do we?
That's an area I'm also very familiar with. Again, there's hardly any day that building had collapsed, and that someone was trying to describe the exact building, but eventually I got the description. It's still under construction. Yes, it's already being used as it has been the consistent pattern with building collapse in Lagos. High density buildings are not buildings you build. Civil engineers, construction engineers, all around. There are different kinds of tools of the regulatory agencies and bodies. Because again, if you are talking about low density building, the incidence of collapse is low, really. The 1-story building, you might not really be that concerned about the possibility of a collapse and it being very fed down.
Yes.
But it's once you are going through the structural integrity of the building. And when I talk about structural, I'm talking about the reinforcement areas, what
pillars,
you commonly call the pillars.
The pillars, the decking and all that.
And so once one fails, the building is coming down. For high density building, it's not something you joke with. In one of the reports, you have, I think Punch newspaper is reporting 7 deaths. One of the papers has reported 8. I think
yes, 8 as well.
A rescue effort is still ongoing. It will be difficult again if you are talking about 3-4 deckings on top of the on the rubble. So they have to evacuate carefully to see whether there can be survivors underneath. Arrested.
Right, yes.
But I think that regulation in Lagos has a lot of questions around it. Why these things keep happening. One happens to talk about it to be done around that issue. Lots more needs to be done.
Really, lots more needs to be done, especially when it has to do with loss of lives, or that will lead to or result to loss of lives and properties. Page 5 in the Punch newspaper captures that very story. The headline: Lagos launches probe has been in the country is back in the country. Of course, after the criticism back and forth, or critics, President Bola Tinubu now is back in. He's planning to meet with the service chiefs to discuss the rising killings in Plateau, Benue, and other parts of the country on his return to Abuja from his 2-week working visit to Paris. Killed by armed assailants, unfortunately, and several homes have been burnt, and 3,000 persons displaced, despite the deployment and Bagir after twin assaults blamed on armed herders, and multiple sources that said that President has been concerned by the security situation and would immediately meet with the service chiefs and the National Security Advisor. That the security meeting would review the rising violence and the measures to actually contain it. And even according to the interview by the special advisor to the president on policy wide, especially the recent incidences in Plateau, Benue, and Enugu states, citing that the governors poor funding of security outfits in their state, despite that they are supposed to do more with the allocations that they have to tackle insecurity. Fouad, what are your thoughts?
Well, I will not bother myself with Daniel Bwala. It's going to be a complete waste of time, especially on this particular issue. So I'd rather just focus on the return of the president.
Fouad, rather, maybe not the personality, but what he has said. We are talking about
it's both rubbish. The serious issue. People are being killed. Daniel Bwala just plays politics with them. Today he says one thing, the next day he says something else. On a very serious incident, and what he needs to quickly do. We welcome the president back to Nigeria. We said a whole lot about why the president has to go on these journeys every time. Send to France and then to London and then come back to the country. But be that as it may, he's back in the country. According to the Punch newspaper, multi-security network more efficiently to support whatever is on ground currently in this troubled state of the armed forces. Delegating duties, giving instructions to the state. But just imagine what would happen if the president decides to go to the state himself to show solidarity with the people, to assure the people the more that, look, that is exactly what you call leadership. So again, we'll be waiting to get more information on what this meeting will bring if it happens, because again, these are just coming from multiple sources. It's not as if the presidential statement.
Yeah.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
So let's see what the mandate of the president will be at state level, with the operatives at the state level. Like I told you the last time, Section 305 that gives the president the power to declare state of emergency in state security. This is when that Section 305 should be activated immediately to protect the lives and properties of people in those troubled states. And then creating a situation where there's a buffer zone, for example. Because if you look at the killing, it's almost like a Gestapo guerrilla warfare kind of thing. So these killings have to stop first. And it has to stop by the fundamental foundational issues of this problem. So the killings have to stop first. Because, the pattern was scary, Lady Mo. Today you reported that 10 has been killed. Why you are still chewing on that, wondering what I can have the president, the governor, state structures, coming together to see how...
Open 4. Trends in the papers on Mail 98.3 FM, in case you're wondering what's happening. And we are trying to peruse the pages of our newspapers this morning just to bring out the trends and bring out major stories that are trending in our 98.3 FM. And you can also listen via our website and Radio Garden. Just quickly, not to deviate or take this story in isolation, since we are talking about insecurity and security and also securing the lives and properties of the people. We happy for anarchy. Jigawa governor counters Danjuma earlier. We had a statement from the creditor to the former Minister of Defense, Lieutenant General Theophilus Danjuma, retired, which had earlier advised that relying on the government for protection was no longer realistic, according to him, which he had been saying years back. And so in response to that, reached that level yet. And according to him, he said Nigerians, now asking Nigerians to defend themselves against bandits is a call for and stressing that self-defense would definitely lead to anarchy in the country. We've been talking about, to this very discussion as well, so that you give your analysis to that. What are your thoughts? What do you think about how citizens can, same time, what do we do where we have the loophole, we have primary assignment they're supposed to do? I want to assume you heard the back and forth of the self-defense. Everyone says, you see something, you say something. But how do we bridge the gap of where the government is failing? We're speaking about self-defense now, because it has been of that will lead to anarchy. But how do people best stay in safety where the security personnel are not doing their job, their primary assignment to protect lives and property?
The point where everybody has to defend themselves. We are calling for anarchy. But I think it's wrong to have said that. We have not gotten to the point where people now have to defend themselves. Not nullify the call for people to defend themselves. But again, encouraging that would lead to a complete state of anarchy. So where I think he faltered in his statement was when he said, look, we have not gotten to that point. We have not gotten where in just 2-3 weeks you're already recording hundreds of people being killed.
Over 300 in 3 months.
And he said you have not gotten to the point where people should defend themselves, to the point where it's already becoming logical, reasonable for people to find a way to defend themselves. But unfortunately, what is required to defend themselves, what Nigerians require, what is when church worshippers were murdered in cold blood, about 40 of them, 40-something of them. I remember the late governor of Ondo State, Tʀᴇɪᴅs saying that, look, if there was a balance of power, confident with brazenness and what have you, to kill over 40 people, we're carrying AK-47, and that was the only superior thing they had against the people. If other people also have AK-47, they will not dare go into communities, start communities, kill people. It's because of the kinds of weapons they are carrying. They don't get crazy past the other people with. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not as if somebody is more mad than the other person when it comes to killing. The consequences. Look at what we are saying now. Since the war killings, how many years ago? Have you heard of any arrest? Have you heard of anybody arrested and prosecuted? Because again, people cannot just sit back in their homes and be killed in this manner. Oh, because some people are carrying, what then can we do? Are you going to use Dane guns? Use bow and arrow, protect the people, and the call. So it is the government that should step up. Is looking and see people would have to find a way to start to defend themselves. So just imagine everybody starts to carry AK-47. I'm not calling for another doing gun against people carrying AK-47. It has to be AK-47 against AK-47, and at that point, it's complete anarchy. That's why the government has to do its job. In fact, it's what comes secondary to the protection of lives and properties of the people. That's the first thing they want to do. Why they were.
But the anarchy of the people, because conversations has always been around as the security, as it's a federal thing.
No, we've always discussed that, and it was because again we've gotten to the point where these anomalies of or this deceit of calling governors the chief security officers of their state, by the way we should evolve it, the structure in the country when it comes to security architecture of the state. What it now means is that, look, you have to permit security in their state. It's not something to even argue over. The state, Lady Mo. So what kind of chief security officer of the state is that cannot state governors? Can we just agree that immediately we activate the... So long we don't have that structure yet, it's difficult. It's not reasonable to do for failure of security in their state.
Well, asking question, are we wrapping up for state police? Can our budget sustain that and all of that? Anyway, that's in the Punch. Also from the Punch newspaper, still trends in the paper of the bridge for repairs that April 27, that's the federal government and works that Lagos, Mrs. Olukorede Kesha, making this known during an inspection of the bridge on Monday. And she said that the bridge connect deck and she emphasized the importance of the Ijora Bridge as a major route leading to...
No, well, this is still about the safety of the people. Create alternative routes given by the controller of work, federal controller of work, the road safety, LASMA, police, or going through for any reason. It has to be that apart thing. But there are people who own businesses who have offices in those areas. And the Lagosians have been assured that it's not as if the place will collapse. But it's supposed to be a part of the maintenance. The bearings are supposed to be some forms of a shock absorber for the bridge. And if the bearings are failed completely, it's just right that they have to lift it up, place the bearings, so that the bridge can be safe for use. So,
all right.
I think it's just part of the safety protocol, safety of people of Lagos. And how long was it going to take? But I didn't get that in the report.
No. We hope it's as quick as possible. And quickly, just speaking about safe, government also rolled out the speed limits. For Third Mainland, Bank Anthony Way, 60 kilometers per hour for Ojota Bridge. By what is 50 kilometers per hour for Nuruddin Olopopo Road, 50 kilometers per hour for Ikorodu Road, 50 to 60 kilometers per hour for Ota per hour, and definitely bridge to this would cost you payment of fine. The fine will be paid by the driver that uses the vehicle as at the time of booking. So let's be guiding our professional as much.
So are they going to be impounding vehicles? What's the process of if people limit, So if you see the driver using the vehicle at that time, full of picking drivers, I don't know of all these other roads really how they're going to be able to say about it.
All right. That being said, quickly still with the Punch newspaper.
I'm sure. I'm sure at some point he himself will not believe himself on that one.
Well, it depends on. It could be relative, in the interference could be. I don't know. Anyways, just to give. Well, anyway, just to give an quickly details to that, just brief detail. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde expressed satisfaction with the selection process. He was saying that had to ensure fairness. And he also reaffirmed his administration of that, and also Oba Owade also commended accompanied by his wife to portray the governor's good governance with unwavering support and cooperation and all of that. Okay.
Well, congratulations to the new Alaafin, and also
what?
Now,
what is it? Are you I don't want to use the word pained, or are you angry?
How am I pained?
Those that were supposed to choose the next Alaafin.
Congratulations to Governor for ensuring a chance about Owade.
Yes.
And I think it's just proper for us to, congratulate them and move to other issues. That's what I'm saying.
All right, of course.
Okay, and I understand how important the Alaafin stood in.
Right.
The Yoruba culture and tradition.
In the Punch newspaper, Tinubu and world leaders mourn as Pope Francis dies at 88. Mentioned that as well yesterday. Page 24 captures that very story. People seeking asylum. Jackpot shows a story with the headline: Electricity failures inflates manufacturers' generator bill to 1 trillion naira. As the quickly very story. And from The Guardian, speaking of the Plateau State Governor, Caleb Mutfwang yesterday convened an emergency stakeholders meeting at the government house where he cautioned behind the cameras, where he asked the stakeholders to sincerely tell him what they knew about the insecurity ravaging the state. And similarly, the Plateau Hermsman noted that when he was officially declared the winner of the governorship election on March 21, 2023, terror suddenly came in a way that people had no situation, which paid off temporarily until the Christmas Eve tragedy that explained that when he was not yet in politics, he was told that there was a lot of issues that bordered on insecurity, which eventually forced the stakeholders to have a collective responsibility of that, doing it together and thinking together to make sure that they are nurturing
the closed door meeting of stakeholders in the state. And at some point, the report was that, look, in the state, I said that, look, these are men who are holding this company. What are the states and federal level now when it comes to insecurity? I think Nigerians did not vote. There were several people who thought they could do the job. They emerged. I am sure both the governor of Benue and that of Plateau saw some of these problems they are now lamenting and talking about. Is done, you'll be protected. So they were just saying it for saying sake. The same thing applies to the federal government too. And on Sunday I was still saying it. If there was one reason why Jonathan was voted out of power, it was because a bloody civilian cannot secure Nigerians. Oh, a former general should be able to do it. and the rest is history. State and federal level, Nigerians did not vote for them to come up every day to be telling them what the problem is. We already know what the problem is. Now today we know it's an X-Men. Imagine the governor saying they should come and tell him what he has done wrong. Is that the solution to the problem?
But for
like I said, a lot of times these governors also sound helpless.
But for what? Not in the moment, when you're not in the middle of the issue, or you are not started with that responsibility as at that time. It's just like, you'll be able to pinpoint things, but when you get there, you might not be able to, you handicap or something.
The problem, when we say that, then what we are saying, there are brilliant Nigerians who would have been able to do a fantastic job. But again, we would always talk about a very flawed electoral system that has made, very good and are not ready to deploy thugs and all manner of things to win election. So, for people who are ready to play the politics the way we play the match as either governors or presidents, this is why people gave them the money. It's not for them to come on TV and be lamenting. People lamentation galore. Is that what governance is all about?
Well, there's definitely even conversation about the fact that we have the most laudable policy. Anyway, that's in the Punch newspaper, from the Guardian newspaper, rather. From the...
This is when? Before the Ramadan festival, they've been on holiday. They were supposed to resume, I think, April 27 or so now.
They have postponed their resumption to May 6. Who signs association the election? Well, the two chambers are definitely embarked on Easter and Eid al-Fitr, postponed now to May 6. You will ask when they were anyway.
I don't know whether you see it in the report. So that these legislators can participate in the May Day celebration with their constituents.
A Workers' Day celebration, they want to participate in the May Workers' Day. 27 mentioned that.
And they were supposed to resume April 29th. They moved it to.
Don't you think that should be?
So that would not happen. That would never bother ourselves to that kind of conversation. Something that would never happen.
Very story. For more details, away from that, we also have this from the government of Oberevori's aide, Shimite, saying husband in protective custody, now launched an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Chief Love Shimite. Special advice in passing of the Chief Shimite Law Monday, yesterday, though the circumstances surrounding her death were, hazy at the press time, which was gathered that it occurred after a brief which she was taken to, and according to her
yesterday of this young brilliant aide to the governor, by different accounts, a very beautiful young woman, well accomplished from the reports we've gathered so far. From what we're getting from the report, that no, he's not been arrested. He's not in protective custody because there were reports that he will be attacked by people that's on the cost to determine the cause of death. And until that happens, nobody can really say for sure.
98.3 FM, just within few seconds. From the Guardian, Peter Obi to return to PDP ahead of 2027 presidential contest to brighten Jᴏɪᴜ to brighten his chances of winning.
Is it PDP of Wike or of Atiku?
Yes.
Or which PDP? Or PDP of governors who say they will support
APC.
Intelligence on this. This is a case of a PDP that is already for the presidential election in 2027. And it will be a PDP that Wike is holding down. What is Jᴏɪᴜ's position on what Wike is doing to the party? That suddenly, instead of him to concentrate on his party, he's talking about somebody in another party.
Instead of focusing on how to unite, right? Tinubu acted in Rivers' interest. Page 29 captures that very story. How soon do you expect in Rivers? Expect the 6 months to elapse.
6 months now. If they like, they should. Does it change anything? The man.
Yeah.
I am everything.
During the media.
I'm the Alpha and Omega. I own everything in Rivers State. There's nothing the governors can do that I cannot do. You saw the man who put journalists in front of himself. Lady Mo, time with them.
Time with your time. We need to quickly go for this comment from the Guardian. 6 lakh injuries, who's destroyed in Southeast for page 20. Thank you very much. And also, good morning.